All right, guys, LCS Week 2 matchup overviews. 2 minutes each for each matchup. Let's go straight into it. So we have Immortals versus Cloud9. Big storyline. We have Thanatos versus Castle once again. These guys played in the LCK CL for quite a while. I mean, they had a lot of matches versus each other, and I'll admit, Thanatos did come out on top in the end of the day versus Castle. So now this is Castle's time to show, well, this guy, hey, welcome to the LCS, right? And, you know, there were interviews, there were Thanatos, actually, was it an interview? Thanatos said that after playing the first game, he wanted to be the reason why they were winning or losing, so he started to play more carries. I think he did fine. I think he came in to pretty much my expectations from what I saw. And really a big focal point is just like how disciplined he's going to play versus how disciplined Castle's going to play and go from there, really. Like, it's just a true 1v1 that Castle has to prove himself over Thanatos on the LCS stage. For the rest of the matchups, you know, I think Cloud9 has really been taking to heart on the improvements that Reaper has instilled into them. Like, he clearly sees the main weaknesses that a lot of other people saw and is actually working on it. And so for Cloud9, you know, they're just going to press into still kind of the typical blabber clearing champions, playing around high tempo. They've improved their vision game. Vulcan's looking better. And overall, they're just trying to make those team plays and execute. And if they can do that, then they'll be a pretty reasonable team because they have good players. For Immortals, you know, Tactical had a good series. You know, they're going to keep probably pressing into these kinds of plays. I think their macro play was actually better than other teams. And this will be a nice focal point to actually use, because if they can continue being smarter on how they move around the map, the timings they base and such, yeah, I think Immortals has a chance. But for now, Cloud9 will have a slight edge. 100 Thieves versus Dig. You know, first off, again, with the top lane, Sniper, he needs to make sure that he's not going to have a bad matchup into Licorice. Licorice was using his counter picks into Thanatos, and it was getting some good value. Of course, the way they execute and play the map later on for Dignitas is not really good. Like, they just don't have a clear idea on how to finish games and also progress games after the early game in a effective manner. And they also kind of have some misexecutions. Like, I think Spica kind of misexecutes quite a bit in fights. That's something I've noted from the last 2 years, and that series just continues to confirm it, that he's just not really that incredible of a fighter. And Jensen was fine. Honestly, Jensen was perfectly fine. Yeah, he made mistakes versus JoJo and whatever, but he's coming in pretty much as you would expect. And it doesn't seem like being on this team has really changed how he is, or like if he's going to play worse or better. And for the bot lane, Sven was all right. Sven was all right. I think he could have played better, but, you know, it looks like Sven is very much capable of playing the LCS and looking to win. So for Dignitas, their ways to win is pretty much, as always against 100 Thieves, is try to smash their bot lane, get good bot matchups, and kind of take them out that way. Make sure you're not giving a good matchup for Quid, because Quid has a huge pool. So you need to ensure that you're not just having some weird offset champions that kind of ruin your game. 100 Thieves are going to play a clearing champion, and Dig have to be mindful on like how they want to match this. They probably want to play early game champs or the dog mouse Seju champs or something like that, because if River is going to play like, you know, Karthus or whatever, you know, these AP junglers that get like really strong and they're willing to take fights and then they continue to win fights because they outplay, that's an issue. So for now, 100 Thieves has an advantage over Dig, and, you know, we'll see how they do today. FlyQuest versus Energy. I don't need as much time for this one, so it's okay. I went a little over the other one. For FlyQuest, just draft well. I mean, for both teams, it's really just draft well in the end of the day. Like, Energy had some pretty horrific drafts, especially in their second game, and they just got absolutely smashed by 100 the second they just screwed up one time, because it was a Nidalee comp with, yeah, I mean, just pretty much Nidalee has to do what it has to do, and if it doesn't, it's over. So draft better, draft like just simpler champions, simpler comms, similar to how Dig probably has to approach their games right now. And just keep everyone in the loop on what's happening. You know, like, really got to stop these unforced mistakes Like, stop trying to be the hero. Like, they need to do something about that, because if they don't, I don't really see any improvements. For 100, or sorry, for FlyQuest, you know, I think they need to continue to where they were in spring, where they're pushing more into bot lane, using Masu and Busio's strong laning phase. Yes, they died a bunch, but I think at MSI, it showed that they are capable of doing better than that. And Busio also had a rather good first week, so why not, like, you know, go on top of that? And Blippo should be perfectly fine versus Dokla, because Dokla is, like, one of the worst top laners in the league. So top lane should be fine. Inspired will be on a good clearing jungler going to bot, and you just play a good set of macro, you know, like, and by macro, I mean, like, just good resets, good swaps, and you have the right map rotations, you'll be fine. And Quad, I mean, he just needs to go along with that, because if Quad plays the game that he should be playing, it should be a big benefit to FlyQuest. But if not, I don't know. FlyQuest should be favored to win, but hopefully they just don't have weird drafts. I mean, drafts will really play a big part into that series. Then finally, Team Liquid versus Shopify. You know, Shopify, I don't know. I mean, they're still playing too slow, and Fake God's Rumble was supposed to be far better than it was, but, or at least it should have done far better than what it did, especially with the lead it had, but it was not great. And so it continues to show that Fake God is just pretty incapable of playing champions outside his, like, 3 champions he knows how to play. And that's a pretty big issue. And since he's playing against Impact, who could pretty much just play whatever he wants, Impact could even be losing, but he will make far greater, you know, impact on the map and in the game. That's going to be a huge issue for Shopify from the get-go. APA versus, you know, Insanity, not really a huge difference between the two. So in terms of, like, you know, you're not expecting Insanity to just absolutely smash APA. You're not thinking APA is absolutely going to smash Insanity. And since APA has been capable of, like, laning and dealing with, well, pretty much everyone in LCS, I don't see how it's going to be any different. So there's not really a clear advantage there for Shopify, so that leaves literally bot lane as always. And Gian and Core JJ, you know, Gian is not playing as well as he was at MSI. That's a fact. Core JJ, if he's playing as well as he can, will be a huge issue for them to deal with. And I think Shopify I think their champ pools are just pretty limited right now, and Team Liquid can kind of do a lot of different things. They can do a whole bunch of different options in bot lane. Impact is a huge pool. APA is the most limited, of course, but the meta is, like, set for him. So it just seems, when I try to think about it, this seems really hard to imagine Shopify ever beating Team Liquid, and this is probably just the easiest Team Liquid win to just suggest. So this is probably a guarantee, like 100% guarantee, right? This should be what happens, but it's probably more like I would say it's like a 70-30, you know? I know it's, like, kind of limited on, like, saying, like, oh, Energy only has a 30% chance to win against these guys, but, you know, these guys showed that they're still having the same issues as Spring. That's bad. This one, you're expecting 100 over Dig, just because 100 continues to actually expand their playstyle, which is pretty damn important. So this is probably more of like a 60-40 split for 100. And then for this one, you know, and I know it's like everyone that's on the left side is favored. This one, I say it's more towards, honestly, I mean, there's some bias, guys. I'll admit, there's always going to be bias, but I think they have a slight edge versus us going into this series, but I don't think it's a definitive, like, yeah, we're just way better than them kind of situation. And of course, you know, through scrims and practice, maybe this is not true, but this is just how I feel. So I feel like Shopify is 0% chance to win. I think Energy does have a chance, but it's not like some huge one. Dignitas, it gets a little bit better, but again, it's not like I'm going to give them the same odds that we have versus Cloud9, because I think they have just some clear execution issues, which 100 can win through. And then for us against them, you know, I see the issues they have, I see the issues we have, but because they're not playing at as high pace, this also gives us some chance. You know, I think against 100, you know, this would be maybe a little bit harder in some ways, just depending. And yeah, that's it, guys. Those are my matchups for this week. We'll see if I'm right. And yeah, let's just enjoy the LCS week 2. Thanks for watching.